Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is going to be the second video in this whole Python Vue project. In this video, we're going to build out authentication. And there's a lot of different ways to set up authentication in Python. My goal here is to set up authentication with Jwt for REST APIs. So first, let's open up PyCharm. So I'm going to be referring to how I do it in this tutorial here. So if you go to toots.alexmercedcoder.com, you can look up the ultimate Django reference, and that has sort of all the information. But it's not the only way to do it. Like, if you've already built authentication in a separate app, the great thing about Django is that since everything is built in apps, you can take your apps from one thing that you built and bring it over to another. So if you built that authentication as its own app in another Django project, you can then just literally copy that folder and plop it right into here. But let's get PyCharm open. Okay, let me clear out the terminal. And let's do am PyCharm. That's just the command I set up on my computer. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, and yep. Okay, it's opened it up from the project where we left off. Good, good, good. Okay, I'm going to close that. Let's close this. And we're not working on the front end right now. We're working on the back end. Okay. So let's follow the directions. So let's go to... And right now I am working in my virtual environment, so I already have all my libraries installed. So just to recap, the libraries you would need to install for this next part, pip list, you would need to make sure that you have these installed. Okay, Django REST Framework, Django REST Framework JWT, right? Django REST Framework Simple JWT. Those are going to be the particular libraries I'll be referencing as we go through this. Okay, we'll create the API later. Here we go. Okay, so first step to do it in this method is to install the Django REST Framework Simple JWT. What this is just one that's going to build JWT authentication in the built-in user module, which may not be what you need. You may need to build your own custom user modules, which require sort of a more crazy setup. But since I already got the library installed, all I need to do is add this to my settings.py. So I'm going to copy this. And again, the way it works is I'm going to go into the folder that matches the name of my project, so node backend, settings.py. And I just have to copy this bit of code somewhere, so just find a free spot, just plop it. And all this is doing is just adding... In Python, there's authentication classes, which basically say, okay, this is how you authenticate. Do you authenticate through session? Do you authenticate with a token? And those classes are going to help us later to configure how we want things authenticated. So all I'm saying here is that we're adding this authentication class. And where's it coming from? REST Framework Simple JWT.authentication. That's where it's coming from. So it's built into the Simple JWT library. Okay, and there's a lot of JWT libraries for Python. This is not the only way to do this. Okay, so I've added that. That kind of registers it with the project. Now what I need to do is head over to my urls.py. So I'm going to head over to urls.py. Okay, I'm going to also need to have, I'm pretty sure I need to bring in include. So path allows you to define one route. Include allows you to bring in another urls.py in your local application that defines all the routes for you. So I also need to bring in this, copy. Okay, so this is just bringing in some stuff from Simple JWT that we need. Okay, token obtain pair view, token refresh view. So it's just coming up with some views that are built in already into the library. And I just need to add these two routes. These are the two routes to go get the token. Okay. So I'm adding these two routes. So this is just basically saying at endpoint API token. It's going to run this view that's built into the Simple JWT library. Okay, so actually I don't need include yet, so we can just take that out for now. And there you go. Okay, that's for the most part set up. Okay, we don't have any models yet, so we'll come back to that when we do have models. But right now I should have authentication set up. I should be able to authenticate. Okay, but there's a couple things I need to do before we can test that out. So I'm going to go over here to my terminal. I'm going to cd up back into the main folder, cd into note backend. And first I need to migrate my database. Okay, so, which right now would be SQLite 3 locally because I haven't changed any settings yet. Yep. So I'm using the default database. So if I do this, actually, yeah, so I want to do that first. So it would be Python. Oh, no, don't want to put that there. It's going to be Python. So all the commands in Django generally start off with Python. Then you're running this manage.py file. And then the command. So Python, manage.py, and I want to migrate the database. I haven't made any new migrations. All that really does is migrate all the default users and groups models that are built into Python, Django. Which are, again, they're just built in from the get-go. So now I need to create a super user. Python manage.py create super user. Okay, get this out of there. So I need a username. I'm just say it's Alex Merced. Email alex@alexmerced.com. Password will just be password. Password. Yes, I don't care if it's too common. This is just a practice project. Cool. Okay. And there's my database. And again, we in the first video we had already configured this to work with Heroku. So if I go back to my settings.py, when I push this back to Heroku, it's going to use my Postgres database on Heroku. But now that I'm local, it's going to use my SQLite 3 database here locally. So now I'm going to run the server, which would be Python manage.py. Okay, here manage.py run server. Okay, it's running the server. So what we need now is we need Postman. So let's open up Postman. This is on port 8000, so I'm going to copy this over. That's fine. Okay. Then go back to URLs. Okay. So here's Postman. Let me put the URL there. And if I remember right, let's go back to URLs. It's API/token. Okay, and I'm pretty sure this is where I should be doing a post request. I don't think I need all this right now. So let's get rid of that. Okay, raw JSON post. That's the super user I created. So if I hit send, none, runtime error, API token. Just go back and take a look over here. Oh, there is a slash after it, so I have to put the slash. It's got to be like identical, unless you use like regex. There we go. Okay, so see, I logged in successfully. Now I have the token. Cool. I am going to copy this token over somewhere for a moment, because we have the ability to have authentication. We have authentication built in now. Yay! The only downside of this is that it's not its own separate app, because the library already has the app built into it. So see, I just configured it and it works. But if I wanted to work it with like custom users, it might get a little bit more, user models. It gets a little bit more complicated. But this is good for now. Cool. Now let's actually build a app with a model. So let's kill the server. And I'm going to create a new app. So that would be Python manage.py. And we're going to do what we always do and do a dog app. So, oh no, we're doing notes. That's right. Python manage.py. Start app, not start project, start app, because we're creating a new app. And the app is going to be called Notes. Okay, so now there should be a new Notes folder available in here. See, there it is, Notes. That has certain files in it. And just to kind of walk you through, admin, this is if you need to register with the built-in Django admin panel. We're not going to worry about using that right now. Apps.py, this we do need because we have to register this app with with this project. So it doesn't recognize automatically that this folder is here. It only knows because in the settings.py, I'm going to say, hey, let's look for this folder. So I have to go to settings.py and head over to installed apps. And it's going to be notes, the name of the folder, .apps, which is the name of the apps module. And then inside the apps module, it was called notes config. .notes config. And that should make this app now available to the project that installs the app. Cool. Then here's where we're going to find our models, okay, which we'll do in a moment. This is for test. We're not going to worry about that right now. And views is where we'll define our views. We'll come back to that. Okay. And since we are using Django REST framework, we also are going to want to create a folder, a file, I mean, called serializers.py. Okay. There we go. So that's all in there. And I'm going to go back to my reference thing here and go back to where we build out the API, Django REST framework. So we've already installed the library. I have that in there. I have to install it. So I have to head over to copy. I have to head back to settings.py and make sure I install the app. So settings.py. Then every time you add an app here, you got to install it. REST framework, so that's installed. Okay, now we're going to make a model. Okay, and I'm just going to copy this example of a model real quick. All it is a class where you define certain properties. Oh, that's not PyCharm. So let's go to the models.py for notes. Okay, so basically we're creating a model called note. Okay, and basically all this is going to have is a message, which is going to be a car field, so up to 100, we'll say, and 40 letters of text. Okay, so that's just basically a character field. And that's it. I don't need an age for your note. Although, well, let me think about this here. I would like it where it is related to users. So let's do a quick search. Okay, Django. One user has one-to-many relationship. One user has many notes. Okay, so let's see here. Reporter has many articles. Here we go. Reporter dot foreign key. Okay, but we need to import the particular model here. Models.foreign key reporter on delete models.cascade. I will copy this because that is essentially what I am looking. Okay. Reporter models equal foreign key. And this is going to be user. Okay. Let me think about that. Actually, I'm going to want to bring that into here anyways, so I should have that over here in my... Here we go. Django contribute models, user, group. I really just want to bring in user because I just want to... Oh, no, not there. Control Z. I want to bring that into models. So we have our note model. I want to import user because I want to make sure this has a relationship to user. So foreign key user on delete equals models at cascade. Now what this just means that if the reporter is deleted, well in this case actually if the user is deleted, then what it'll do is it'll delete all the related notes. So you don't have to separately go delete all the notes. That's what Cascade does. Cool. And then class meta, we're going to say this is notes. This is the plural name. And there's one more piece I want to copy that I just saw over here. And that's this right here. Def.stir. This is method. What it does, it allows you to define how it's going to get defined in the admin panel if you decide to use the admin panel. But I always just like to do it because it's a good thing to do. So stir self. So it's going to stir itself dot self dot, I guess self dot message. Okay. Cool. So that's the model. That all looks good. Let me just see what's. Oh, I was just complaining about how many blank lines I have. It wants another one. And now that wants a blank line. I'm not going to play that proper syntax game right now. Okay, so that's the model. So we created our notes model. Now back to my blog post. We need to set up what's called a serializer. A serializer is what in the REST framework does. It takes your model and will automatically generate sort of the CRUD operations, so you don't have to. So it'll automatically set up routes for creating, reading, updating, deleting. It just kind of, and then generates, and then it will also process the JSON data. So I'm just going to copy this, Control C. We have to go to our serializers.py and paste that in there. So we're going to import not dog, but notes. Okay, that's actually note. We're going to bring in user and group. That's the built-in models in Django. Again, we could create our own custom ones, but that's a whole other adventure. And then we're bringing in serializers from REST framework. So we need a serializer for each thing we're serializing. We're serializing note. So note serializer, which the model is going to serialize is note. Okay, and the only fields that are there are really message and user. Okay, user serializer, that's set as it is. Group serializer, that's pretty set as it is. There we go. That should create what we need from there. Okay, so that'll basically serialize the JSON data as we make API calls. And now we just need to create views. That's actually going to create the endpoints for us to make API calls too. Okay. So what we can do is we can actually just copy this and head over to views. Oops, not the. Okay, let's see here. We want to import note, user group, REST framework view sets. So this is like the little thing that creates the view sets inside REST framework. This is the permissions, allows us to set permissions. And then again, we need to bring in the note serializer from serializers. So again, this is going to be a note view set. Okay, and again, we're talking about the note object. And this objects.all, this is like a object manager that gets built into every model in Django. And it's just essentially the interface to do functions like add, find, stuff like that. Okay, the note serializer, that's the thing that actually generates the JSON data from the data. So this is essentially querying the database, getting the data, passes it to the serializer, who's going to serialize it into JSON. The question is, who's allowed to do this? For notes, we want to say is authenticated. Okay, is authenticated. Okay, user view set. Okay. Well, we want anyone to be able to create a user. So for now, I'm going to allow any. I can get more custom with that, but that's fine for now. So I want to allow anyone to be able to. The only problem with that is it also means anyone can delete a user. But again, you can always read the REST framework documentation if you need to get a little bit more specific about that. Groups I don't care about, so I'll leave that alone. Cool. Now I want to make sure it's Jwt Authentication, so I'm going to go back to, so now the API is essentially create, oh, we have to set up the URL. So before we even do the authentication thing, okay, let's do set up URLs. So what we need to do is hit now. So again, just to recap, we created the model, then we created a serializer for the model. Now we've created the views for the model, but we need to connect those views to URLs. Okay, so I'm gonna head over to urls.py. I'm going to copy this code right here and copy all this. And what I am doing here, URLs, let's knock it a line down. I'm bringing in the routers. The routers is what sets up all the routes for the REST framework. And now this is no longer project1.api. What I want to do, actually I can just get rid of that for a second. I think I should be able to do that. Just basically brings in views.docset, so I need to actually bring in the views. So let me just see here. Import notes. Okay, so then this would be notes.views, notes.views, notes.views. And why is that complaining? Okay. I'm not even sure if I need the import since I'm just naming it completely. Or maybe I do. Oh, we'll figure it out in a second. Or from notes import views. I'll just do that. That'll make everybody happy. Okay, and what this wants me to do is actually, I think it wants me to do this. Note backend dot notes. There it goes. Okay, stop complaining. Although I'm going to change this in case, you know, theoretically, what if we had another app and we wanted to import the views there? So I'm going to say import views as note views. So then these will change to note views. Okay, because again, just in case we decide to add other models later, views hasn't been taken up as a word. Okay. So what this does, so we have to change that to notes. And this would be note views. So this is going to be the note view set that we did in the view. So user view set, group view set. So that creates the view sets that are all part of this router. So it creates a router and then register these view sets with the router. Now what we need to do is register the router with our URLs. Okay, so I'm going to use this line right here, path. Okay, Control C. Okay, and I'm just going to add that right there at the beginning of these. And just make sure this is tabbed. There we go. Oh, and we need to include. So I need to go all the way over here to where it says Django URLs, not only import path, but also import include, because we're including the batch of things from this other file, router.urls. And what this is going to do is that now this will be like a /notes, /users, /groups. Neat. Okay, and then the last piece is we want to make sure we set up the authentication. So the API is set up. I just want to set up one last thing. Here we go. We want to add this line right here. So I need to import this REST framework simple AWT. That's going to import the authentication class into the view sets, I think it was, or is it in the serializers I do this? This is in, yeah, it's in views. So let's go back to our views for notes. And we want to import this. Okay, and then we have to add authentication classes. Okay, authentication classes. Okay, and it seems weird that there's this comma here, but it has to be there. It won't work without it, so keep that in mind. Okay, cool. So now I can't access... Oh, I put that in groups. Don't want that in groups. I want it on notes. So that way I can't access notes unless I'm authenticated. Cool. Save. Okie dokie. Now let's try this out. Okay, let's run our server. Run server. Oh, we got some errors. Oh, we gotta do some migrations, don't we? Checks, exception of thread, traceback. Boo. Okay, it's gonna complain about this. Let's do this. It's gonna be back to URLs here. So I don't know why I always end up having trouble with this. Let's play around with it. Okay, now it works. So from notes, import views as note views. Okay, cool. That seems to be working. Go back to Postman. Okay, and then we're gonna go to /notes. And I should be able to do a get. Now, if I do a get without the token, it should give me some sort of error. So let's see here. See, authentication credentials were not provided. Good. Now let me take that token that we got from previously. Control C. I'm gonna head over the headers. I'm gonna type in authorization. Authorization. And the weird quirk about this is that if I remember right, this, if I do bear, which is normal, you usually would do bear, then the token. Okay, this would normally work, but watch what happens. See, it still says, it's a weird quirk with this, it's particularly with simple JWT, just what's happening under the hood in the simple JWT library. So you do bearer, you have to do it uppercase. Okay. Token, access token, token is invalid or expired. Okay, so I have to go get another token. So I'm gonna go open up another window. And let's go over here. Make sure I have the right body, send. And I think did I copy the wrong token? I think I did. I want the access token. So let's copy that. Let's go back to our other request here. Nope, over here. And let's just copy this over this. And let's try that again. Okay, now I got a different error. Here we go. No such table. No, yeah, that's because I haven't done the migration yet. So Python manage.py migrate, because even we have to first make migrations because we created notes and all that stuff, but we never actually made migration files. So first we got to tell Python to make the migrations. Okay, so there it is. It created the model note. Then I got to migrate it manage.py migrate. Okay. And then there we go. Okay, so there you go, applying notes. So let's run that server again. Cool. I have a feeling it's going to want me to log in again, so I'm going to just get a new token. So send. There, we've generated a new token. Copy the token. Head back over here. Copy it over. Send it. And there we go. We have an empty array, which is what we'd want because there's no notes yet. Okay. So let's try this out. Okay. Let's try doing a post request notes. Okay. Oops. Pre-request script. No, I just want to do body. And this is going to become message, which will just be my name. Why not? And then user. I'm assuming my user ID is 1, because I don't think there's any other users. So by virtue, I'm going to assume that the ID is 1, because right now, I just don't know. Okay. But that should, those are the two fields that we had in note. My authorization key is there. And so I should be able to hit send. Expected URL string received int. Expected URL string. Why is that? Oh, I think I might have. Let's go back to my models. Foreign key. They expected one as a string, so let's go back and do that. So let's try that. No URL match. Why does it think there is a URL involved? User equals models field. What if I get rid of user? This field is required. It is a foreign key, so what I need to do is go explore the database. So C, secure the server, and was it Python manage Python manage.py, and let's give this a shot. DB console, would that work? Let's do manage.py.help. I need to figure out what the command is to go to this SQLite 3 console. Collect static, no. Clear sessions, generate schema. Test server, start app projects, QL flush. SQL migrate, make sessions. It's probably shell, but I think that's the Python shell. Dump data DB shell, that's what I want. Cool. Let's go back down here. And let's go into DB shell. Okay. And I want to see the tables. Dot list. Okay. Dot help. I want to list the tables. What is the command to list the tables? Binary changes, check clone, databases, DB info, IJSB.tables. Tables, yep. Okay. Dot tables. Here we go. Auth user. So let's take a look at all the users. So select all from auth user. Oops, semicolon. There we go. Yeah, so the ID is 1. That's the password, username. Okay. Let's take a look at .help again. Stats on tables, shell, separator, schema. There we go. Show the create statements matching pattern. No. Okay. I'm not going to stress out too much about it. .exit. Cool. Now what I want to do is I am going to alter so we're just gonna make it with just one big blotch of notes for now. Okay. Cool. One big blotch of notes. Save. And I'm gonna make migrations to make those changes. Make migrations, remove field user note. And actually I need to fix that from the serializer, so let's fix that one there. Save. And then I need to make migrations, but these things keep popping in my way. Don't ask me again. Migrate. So that migrated the thing. So now let's do run server. Okay, so we'll keep it simple. Instead of having multiple users with their own separate notes, we're just going to create an app where you can log into and add notes for one person, just to keep this simple. Because like basically what I would have to do is then go customize the different views, which isn't so simple with simple JWT, since all the stuff is kind of, well, I guess it would be the notes views, but that would require just some extra reading of the REST framework docs right now. Notes. Okay, so here we go. Notes. Let's just see if my JWT is still working. Notes. The given token not valid for any token type, so we need to get a new token. I'm assuming maybe it's generating a new key every time, or every time I restart the server, because these tokens don't last very long. Control C. And let me go update the headers. There we go. I hit send. Good. Oh, wait. Message. Okay, good. It's returning the message. And then if I were to do another one. Okay. Notes. Let's do a get now. See if we get back that note. And we do get back the note. Although I would like the ID too. So let's kill the server. Let's change this. I also would like the ID. See if that fixes that in the serializer. Python manager python run server. Okay, now I'm assuming this is going to ask me once again for a new key. So I'm going to log in again, get a new JWT key token, head back over here, update my token, and then run the request. Okay, good. Now it gives me the ID. Nice. Okay. ID 1, message 1. Perfect. And then, yeah, so we have a working API. Requires me to log in. So this is good enough for now. So we can begin on the front end, and we'll start doing that in the next video. So I'll see you guys there. Have a great one, and ciao.